Hello everyone and welcome back to another furniture flipping video. My name is Samuel with Cedar Pine Designs, and in today's video I am working on a bedroom set that is made of mahogany, and it is a really nice color, but we're going to change this one up a little bit, so let's go ahead and get our hands dirty. A lot of times when I start a piece, I always do the same thing by removing all of the drawers, and when I did so, I found an antique scale inside one of the top drawers, and that thing weighed probably 10 to 15 pounds easy, and I'm surprised that it was actually still pretty accurate. But with that said, I removed the rest of the drawers. They were lined with a little bit of paper, which is pretty typical for these older pieces because they want to protect the bottom. But this one was in pretty good shape, except the drawers on the inside were pretty dried out and the handles were starting to rust. They aren't solid brass or anything like that. They attract to magnets, so later on I'm going to be painting those. And as you can see, this is real-time sanding. I just skipped ahead a little bit, but as you can see, this finish on it is really thin and it is coming off very easy. I'm actually using a 220 grit piece of sandpaper, and it is just melting that finish away. Now, one thing I did notice is that the veneer on this, although it looks pretty thick from the side if you look at it, but it is actually very thin and it sands fairly quickly, so you have to be very careful with that. The rest of the body I am going to be painting, and I know some people are going to get mad about that, but what can you do? You can't please them all. So I'm using a 150 grit sandpaper on my orbital sander because most of this dresser is flat surfaces, so I'm just doing a quick scuff sand so that I can prep it and get it ready for paint. So this set is actually a commissioned piece, so a lot of times people will ask me, why do I paint pieces? And a lot of times I do like to paint pieces because I do like to transform them and make them look completely different from what they did look like. But a lot of times when I get a commissioned piece, me and the customer work together, depending on the condition of the piece, what we're going to do to it, and they kind of leave some of it in my court, but they do give me their ideas and what kind of colors that they like. So a lot of times if I'm doing these commissioned pieces such as these, then it's most likely going to be paint. To fill all the cracks and deep gouges, I'm using DAP's natural wood filler. This stuff is water-based, so after you sand this stuff down and your piece gets really dusty, either use a dry microfiber towel or like a tack cloth, because if you use water, because this stuff is water-based, it is going to wipe right out and you will have done all of that work for nothing. Another reason why I like to use wood filler is if I have some minor scratches and I can just sand them out with my sander. It does leave behind bare wood spots, and if you paint it just like that, then you're going to see the wood grain next to very smooth surfaces, and it is going to look terrible. A lot of people ask why I don't use a top coat over my paint, and they assume that I'm using latex paint and that it's going to peel off and it's just going to get scratched really easy and it's going to look terrible after a couple of weeks of use. And the answer is Insulex cabinet coat. This stuff is urethane acrylic with enamel, and this stuff is made for kitchen cabinets or any kind of cabinets for that matter. And this stuff, when I say it dries super durable and hard, I'm not kidding. I did some cabinets in my garage in a gray paint just like this one with the same paint, and that stuff looks just as fresh as the day that I painted it, and I couldn't recommend this paint more. This is not a sponsorship or an affiliate of any kind. I just really love this paint because you can do 3, sometimes I like to do 4 coats of paint, and this stuff you don't have to top coat, saving you a ton of time. So this is a smaller 4-drawer dresser that goes with the set, and there is also a matching nightstand that comes with it. I am painting this a charcoal dark gray. It's called Wrought Iron by Benjamin Moore, and I think it's going to complement the color of the drawers that I chose for this set, and we will see that in a little bit. To answer the question why I don't tape off the drawer openings, it is very tedious and time consuming to do that, at least for me. And if you angle your spray gun at the right angle when you're spraying, you get hardly any overspray on the inside. Don't get me wrong, there still is a little bit, but I just don't have enough time because I have such a back order of projects. Scuff sanding in between each coat is a step that you really do not want to skip because it is going to ensure that you have a really nice smooth finish when you apply your last coat. So what I do is I take a 400 grit piece of sandpaper without applying too much pressure. I just use it to smooth out all those dust nibs, especially after your first coat. It's going to feel really rough to the touch, and as you do each coat and scuff sand in between them, it is going to get smoother and smoother, so do not skip that step. So for the stain color, I wanted a brownish red, like a red mahogany color, but I only had walnut and this new color that I got, cognac, and the cognac is too red and the walnut is too brown. So I just decided to mix a little bit of that red with a little bit of that brown to create the brownish red color that I really wanted. And I have to say, it actually came out perfect. I didn't have to mix any more. I mixed just the right amount. It came out the exact color that I wanted, and I was super happy about that. The thing that I really like about this dresser is that the drawer faces have this lighter wood that's inlaid as a border to give the face some contrast, and I really like that because it's just something a little different. So during this project, my spray gun decided to crap out on me. I've had it for over a year and a half already since I started flipping furniture, and I use it all the time, and I decided to buy myself a new one finally. Dynastis is the brand, and it's the same gun that I always have been using. I figured, why switch it up and get something that I'm not familiar with and just buy the same one. This one does cost about $50 because it does come with some extras. It came with some extra tips. I forget the sizes, but I think it's like 1.5, 1.8, and the one that I always use for paint is 2.5. This gun is amazing. It's cheap. And it also comes with a mini air regulator that you can attach to your gun to adjust the pressure. And really do your research because you have to have an air compressor that is compatible with the gun in order for it to work well. So when you buy these things brand new, this is a very important step that you don't want to skip. You want to take it fully apart and you want to clean it with like an acetone or something because these things are oiled so that they don't, I guess they don't rust or whatever the case, to keep them fresh when they're shipping and sitting in a warehouse waiting for somebody to buy them. So I fully disassemble this all the way down, and I'm going to get some acetone and I'm going to clean all these bits up and get the oil off of them so I can reassemble it and continue with my project. Pay attention to the color of the acetone. It is clear, but as you will see after I'm done cleaning all of these, how dirty it gets and why it is very important to clean your gun before you start to use it. It also can get into the paint and cause some really ugly finishes to your projects, making you do double work. Real quick, I'd like to thank everybody who supports me, and you know who you are because I always see a lot of the same people in the comments, and I really appreciate your dedication to watching my content. It means a lot to me, and I really want to just thank everybody wholeheartedly. Now that everything is nice and clean, look at that acetone, yellow and a lot of debris at the bottom of the cup. You can't really see it on camera, but there is a ton of stuff down there, and all that's left is to reassemble this gun exactly how we took it apart. And if you get confused at any point, there are instructions, but it's pretty straightforward. There's not very much to these guns, so just don't overdo it. This kit does come with a tool. It's more of a multi-tool because it fits a lot of different fittings on this gun, but the only one that it didn't have was the one that you seen me use. It was a star bit on my drill to put that on, but you normally don't have to take that off very often to clean it when you do just normal maintenance on it. One thing you want to be sure of is not to get those needles mixed up with the tips because they are matching one another as a set. This is a 2.5 millimeter tip and it has a specific stem that goes with it. Those are just a couple of the adjustments that allows for minimal or maximum material to flow out of your gun. I always set most of my stuff at max and just regulate the pressure, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the video. Most air compressors come with a pressure regulator built into them, but a very good way to adjust the pressure on the fly is to have a pressure regulator right at the bottom of your gun. This one came with it. It's not a very high-end one, but it does the job. It doesn't leak and it works just fine for me. No need to get all fancy or expensive with it. You just want to make sure that you use some Teflon tape and you really tighten those down and check for leaks. The kit also comes with an internal filter. It is plastic and you're going to want to buy a ton of replacements because you are going to go through them like crazy. And now that everything's put back together, it's time to put some paint in it and we're going to go ahead and test some spray patterns. So now that we got it together and we got some paint, let's test it out. That first knob is to let air pressure in and the second knob is to adjust the fan pattern. And you can adjust it to be very, very wide or you can adjust it to be very, very small. But I like mine to be about medium, just like that. That is perfect. And that knob in the back, like I showed you earlier, is to adjust how much material comes out and then you adjust your pressure. This gun is rated for 40 PSI. So I set my regulator to run 40 PSI when it is fully depressed and you are good to go. I'm using a water-based polyurethane in a satin finish made by Varathane to seal all of the drawer fronts. I'm doing 3 coats of that with sanding in between each coat with 400 grit sandpaper. And I absolutely love how this gun is working. I forgot how good these things work when they are new. I've had mine for over a year and a half and it is night and day. I'm also using that 400 grit sandpaper to sand off all of this rusty buildup that was on these drawer pulls. They are not made of brass or anything like that. They attach to magnets, so I decided to paint them in a really nice metallic gold color. So with this paint, you really only need about 2 coats, and you really want to go light on the first coat because you don't want to create a lot of drips and a lot of paint buildup. And these things look amazing against that reddish brown color, and I couldn't be happier with those, although I wish they were like a solid brass and I could have polished them out, but either way, I'm happy with it. Now it's time to use the tried and true Howard's Feed and Wax. These drawers were really dried out and they were in desperate need of some freshening up. This stuff actually smells really, really good. It is a citrus scent, and I decided to do the insides of the drawers as well because those things were really, really dry as well. And look at how good that stuff looks with just, 2 minutes of polishing. I love this stuff and I highly recommend it. Now that all the polishing is done, let's throw those drawers back into these dressers. Like I've said in the past, this is my favorite part because I know that I'm done and I get to finally see what this project looks like all put back together. And would you look at that? This piece is amazing. I really love the color, and I love the paint and everything about them. So let's just enjoy them for a minute. So like I like to do at the end of every video, I like to go over the numbers really quick just to show people some real world numbers and what I made off of these things. So I did not have to purchase these. It was a commission set, and I charged $950 to refinish all 3 of the pieces. And I only spent about maybe $50 on material because I buy everything in bulk and it really helps to save. So I made $900 profit, and this piece probably took me about 10 to 12 hours. I didn't do the math on that to give you an hourly, but it was well worth it. And I really hope everybody enjoyed my video, and I cannot wait to see you on my next project.